Hi there, I hope you're doing well. Have a look. Our tea cakes are finally here. So this is the Gulan, the Jingmai Gulan made of the ancient tea gardens. And this is the Mian, the Shanghai. It's written here, Gulan Mian. And we have 3 different designs this year for the wrappers. One for the Gulan, one for the Mian, and one for all the other mountains we're going to produce, which will be differentiated by color and name. So they are straight out of the factory. I just got them yesterday. This year I really repeated several times to the guy who presses our cakes to really use low temperature. I think it's the most crucial aspect of a good pressing process. When you dry the cake, it's important that it dries over a long period of time, as slowly as possible. And it's hard for them to do that during the late spring because they typically have a lot of tea to press at that time of the year. So I paid extra money to make sure that he uses a lower temperature. And what it will do is that the green tea taste that you get right after pressing will last a shorter time in the tea. Well, usually if you dry at higher temperature, it doesn't dry as well because there's still a lot of moisture inside the cake. While if you use slow temperature, there's probably a better drying when you get the cake. But of course the cake, so you can see, I just tried it once yesterday. I wanted to shoot a video, but then some construction workers started doing some heavy work in the apartment below us, so I couldn't really shoot a video due to sound issues. So you can have a look. This is what our new cake looks like. This is the Gulan, and yeah, to me it looks very pleasant. Well, we can see the stems, a little bit of Huangpian, but really not so many. Like every year we use a machine to sort the Huangpian. I think it gives a better job than hand sorting, in my opinion. Yeah, you still have a few of those stems. But yeah, let's drink it, huh? Let's try it now. So I already have a little stuff. I'm going to weigh the tea because maybe for a guy one like this, I will use about 8 grams. I need to learn to use less tea, actually. Many of my friends say that the tea I brew is too strong. Well, it's really a matter of taste. I just like to get a strong broth so that any qualities or defects of the tea are made more obvious. So what can I tell you about this season? Because it's been a long time since we posted our last video, and actually it's mainly due to the fact that we got very busy after the last video we pressed. That last video was about us being busy, and actually the next day we got even more tea, and then the week after we didn't get as much tea as in the video, but still quite a lot of tea for everyday making. So at least for Yubai and I, that was as much work. It's just that our family members would help a bit less when we had less tea, but it was very busy work every day. So, like we fried a lot of tea, really, and that was very enjoyable. So yeah, it's a really fun part of the year, I would say. Of course, sometimes you get a little tired and you'd like it to stop, but what's the fun in life if you don't suffer a little bit, So let me just rinse. I think the chunk I got is a bit tightly pressed, but so yeah, I think my friend who's pressing the tea listened to me like he did use lower temperature because the green tea taste is not as strong as in the other years. I think what I would regret a little bit over the 2019 and 2018 is that during the first month after pressing, they tasted very different from the Mao Cha, and I think this was due really to too high a temperature when drying, so a long recovery. Now this trauma that the tea got has passed in 2019 tea, but I feel it had too much of a green tea taste for maybe 2 or 3 months. So yeah, maybe if you want to really enjoy the fresh tea, it's better to buy the Mao Cha actually than to buy a freshly pressed cake, because you'll get a strong bias just from the pressing process. So let me remind you, the pressing process is simply a steaming. The tea is steamed and then pressed. It's steamed to make it sticky. Then it's easy to press, and then you have to dry it. And so the longest part of the process is to have the tea dry. So we can have a look at the first brew after the rinse. By the way, do you like this guy one? It was a gift from Xishuangbanna shop, actually. I'm also friend with them. They have pretty nice tea, and we just took a trip around Xishuangbanna with them last week. I like to see that new tea soup every year, you know, very oily. A little bit like olive oil. You can feel, I think that's something I like to look at in a tea I try. You just twist it like this, and you can get a feel for how thick the soup is just by doing this. If you do it fast, you know, there's kind of an inverted tornado that forms down there. It's some really fun stuff. Tea is fun stuff anyway. So of course we still have the green tea taste, but it's not as strong. The cakes were probably pressed 5 days ago. They've been drying for only 4 or 5 days, so we'll give them maybe 2 more weeks to recover. Oh, and by the way, so considering the current crisis, we've had a lot of shipments which are stuck in transit, either in Kunming or Guangzhou, and so I don't want to release the new teas we have right now, because I'm worried that they would be stuck in a warehouse somewhere, and maybe they wouldn't age as well as possible. I think that recovery time, during that recovery time from the pressing, it's important to still give a decent storage environment to the tea. And I think, yeah, if it was just in a parcel tightly packed, I think that wouldn't be good. Maybe the tea wouldn't be able to dry out properly. So for now, we're just gonna keep it in Pu-erh for at least 2 weeks, I would say, until we can say, okay, it's possible that we ship the tea, and even if the parcel is delayed, it won't affect too much the taste of tea. But ideally, I would like the situation to be solved within a couple of weeks, and I would like to start adding all those products when all the logistics issues will be solved. We're mainly shipping by e-packets. That's the service from the Chinese post, and right now they are stuck. So if you have an order, if you've taken an order in March or April, don't think it's lost. It's most likely stuck in transit somewhere. They are just waiting for planes, because there's much less civilian traffic than before, and that means you cannot ship as much goods as you could before. And by the way, the price has doubled. The price of the shipping has doubled, and we won't increase the price of the products on Farmer Leaf. We'll take this price increase on our own markup. Usually when you buy a cake on Farmer Leaf, you have an extra $5. That's for the shipping, because of course we don't charge the shipping separately. We add it. We'd add a little bit to each product. So now that would cost us more like $9 per cake. But I think we're not in a situation right now. The world is not in a situation where we can increase the price. And even our new teas will be actually at the same price as last year. Even though, well, the price has increased a little bit. Well, it depends. It depends on the mountain. In Jingmai, I would say it's almost the same as last year. Lao Man E increased by like 10%. Then, well, you could say the famous tea mountains, they tend to have the price pretty high. Now some areas have decreased, like Jingu. I've heard I haven't been to Jingu yet, but I've heard their price has decreased. Maybe if I have time, I will go and have a look for good opportunities, maybe next month. Now that we have the car, it's much more convenient to move around. So last week we traveled in Xishuangbanna. We went to Mengsong area, so that's in the north of Monghai, and it's known for very aromatic tea, very high-pitched tea. The aroma is very high in the nose, and also high bitterness in some areas, such as Naka, the most famous village of Mengsong. And of course I got some tea from Naka this year, because this is, I would say, my favorite area, my favorite Pu-erh tea. Because it's both highly bitter and highly fragrant. But the bitterness is of a different nature than Lao Man E bitterness. And then so on one day we took that road north of Monghai, and then the next day we did a loop. We did a 2-day trip, a loop. We started off in Monghun. We went to the west of Monghai. Monghun, that's a really beautiful town where you can have amazing barbecue. It's a very, very Dai area, very Dai culture area, and you get great food there. It's not a big town. It's maybe, I don't know, maybe 10,000 people, maybe less. But there you have a small road that heads in the mountains, that heads south, and when you go on that road, maybe 20 kilometers, you arrive in Hokai. So Hokai, you know, they have new villages in the valley with lots of paddies, and then you climb up the mountain and you start seeing Gushu. So on the lower altitude, they have planted young trees, like they planted that in maybe 2007. And then as you climb up, you get into the big tea gardens, and Hokai has the biggest ancient tea gardens in Xishuangbanna, and I would say it's probably the second mountain after Jingmai in terms of ancient tea garden size. But the size of the tea trees is usually much bigger than in Jingmai, so it's much more impressive to go to Hokai. Well, we stop a bit on the way, but not too much. Then that road goes to Hokai, so you have Mannong. You go through Mannong village, which is, along with Manmai, the most famous village. You have Mannong and Manmai, and then you have a bit more distance to Banpen. Banpen, which is still in Hokai area, but very close to Laobanzang. So you go through Banpen, and then you cross Laobanzang, but actually Laobanzang now is really like a sealed area, like there's a huge gate, and with security guards at the entrance, and I don't know what you have to do to enter, but anyway, I don't really care about Lao Banzhang because it's way too hyped up. Of course, this is absolutely great tea, Lao Banzhang, but yeah, the current situation there is crazy, so I'm not really interested in getting tea from there. We probably could get some, but I think it's not a great value. It's not really what we want to offer on Farmer Leaf. I still want to consider the price for value ratio. And in Lao Banzhang, don't even think about it. Just think about what kind of tea you can get in absolute quality, I would say. Then you go on an even very narrow road, very high quality road, but very narrow, that winds through the mountains. And after maybe 10 kilometers, you arrive in Xishuangbanna, which is a more open village. I don't know much about Xishuangbanna. I know they share some tea gardens actually with Lao Banzhang, but they have mostly plantation tea. They don't have many gushu there. Well, anyway, the tea is pretty expensive there too, so we didn't stop. If at the end of Xishuangbanna you have a crossroad. If you turn right, you will go to Bakanoi, and that's a very interesting village. So very close to Lao Banzhang, both geographically and in terms of taste, but at a maybe more accessible price. But we didn't go this time because we had a meeting with our friend in Lao Man E, with Xishuangbanna, whom we bought the tea from last autumn, tea that sold very quickly. So this year we've got 20 kilo of gushu and 20 kilo of shangtai from him. And so we're in the area, so we said, hey, let's have lunch together. It was more like dinner by that time. And we had a walk in his tea garden and an interview, of course, that I will release a bit later. So yeah, we went to Lao Man E. And I love Lao Man E because I feel like the population, despite being very wealthy from the tea business, they still keep some kind of, they are not too proud of being super rich, I would say. And they kind of keep some traditions, you can still feel the Bulang culture in their heart. So I like this. They are still somewhat simple people, and they don't really throw their money at you, So we had very interesting conversations there. And then as the sun set on Yunnan, we arrived, so we continued south. We arrived in Bulang Shan, so the little town of Bulang Shan at the Burmese border. Close to Bulang Shan is mainly plantation tea. Close to Bulang Shan you have a village with gushu, which is called Nannuo. And I went there 10 years ago, and last autumn I tried to go, and there was a military checkpoint, and they wouldn't let me go because I was a foreigner. Because, it's kind of a sensitive area on the border, and sometimes, it's interesting, they don't really put the military checkpoints at the border, but a few kilometers before, which means that Manno is kind of in a no man's land. Well, I don't know exactly, actually, because I couldn't go. But anyway, this time we headed straight to Weidong. We called our friend in Weidong, and there, we stayed in Weidong. We went there last in 2017. It was good to go again. It hasn't changed much. It's a very beautiful village. I've shot a video there too, an interview with the producer of our tea. Anyway, it's a Aini village actually. They come from Lao Banzhang. So Lao Banzhang, they split into Xishuangbanna and Weidong. So it's an Aini village. But I must say, I really love the Bulang vibe. If you ever travel to Xishuangbanna, I'd highly recommend traveling through Bulang Shan. It has a special atmosphere there. A lot of the villages are not in the hills. They are actually in the middle in the middle where you have paddies, and you have paddies surrounded by hills, and the tea is on the hills. It's quite a different disposition from say Jingmai or Nannuo Shan, where all the tea villages are just in the around the tea gardens on the hillside. So that's also why, like, Lao Man E is only located at 1,200 meters of altitude. That's the village altitude. The tea gardens are maybe 200 meters above. Now it still remains a fairly low altitude, but yet they make great tea. You know that Lao Man E sweetness, I think you can't get it anywhere else. And I would say that's really the characteristic of Bulang tea. Don't talk about the Bulang bitterness. Of course, some teas are bitter, but other areas feature similar bitterness. But you know, that heavy sweetness, supported by that special Bulang fragrance, that's unique. That's the characteristic, I would say. So don't think because the tea is bitter, it's a Bulang tea. And don't think that every Bulang tea should be very bitter. I think most shouldn't be too bitter. They should have medium bitterness. And so it was really cool to drink that Naka tea we just bought the day before with that producer from Lao Man E, because he said, yeah, this tea is bitter, but in a different way. You know, he's very used to the Lao Man E bitterness. And Naka's bitterness is much more, somewhat much more aggressive, like it just jumps on your nose, on the top of your mouth, but it goes away very quickly. So I'm not even sure whether to call it bitterness or just bite, you know, it's something that bites you, that bites your mouth. And it gives you that feel that the more you drink, the more you want to drink that Naka tea. So I love that. So yeah, just to summarize, yeah, we will not release the teas for now. We will just wait for more favorable shipping conditions. I think it's better because, yeah, sure, we could release the tea now. We probably have a lot of orders, but then the tea will get stuck. So it would be really like selling you a dream, you know, a dream of having new tea, but in the end you'll be stuck with the tracking telling you for 1 or 2 months that your tea is in Guangzhou. So it's not what we want. So we will wait maybe 2 weeks. I hope by June the situation will be better. From what I see on the tracking, the worst is for the United States. Western Europe, the parcels seem to be delivered a bit faster. I've seen all the parcels delivered were from Switzerland, Germany, Netherlands. Yeah, so I will stay like Western Central Europe. Spain seems to be okay. France has many delays. UK has many delays. And if you're in the United States, I think like 100%, like none of the parcels have arrived, the ones sent in April. So really don't worry, it's just on the way. But so this year, oh yeah, I didn't talk about the Lafu tea. I haven't brought back from the factory. The cakes are still drying from these areas. But the Lafu tea, you remember we went at the Burmese border and we met a farmer and we told him to like get some gushu, you know, and process it. And I think he did a really great job actually this spring. The tea really has the gushu feel, the same feel you'd get in Jingmai single trees. I wouldn't say in terms of strength, but in terms of mouthfeel, that kind of very oily chicken soup mouthfeel. So it was very satisfying to try this Lafu tea. So I hope you will enjoy it. What else we have? We'll have Lao Man E, we'll have Weidong in Bulang Shan. You'll be able, by the way, to compare the Lao Man E Shengtai and the Weidong Shengtai, you could say. So they are probably at the same age. So there only the terroir will be the difference. They are in a different. Well, they are maybe 30 kilometers away, or 20 maybe as the crows fly. So yeah, 3 teas of Bulang Shan, Lao Man E Gusu, Lao Man E Shengtai, Weidong. Then in Monghai area we'll still have Nannuo, the same Nannuo as usual, made by Tafa, always great. I haven't visited him this year. We were all busy, but probably we'll have time. Like he's really an expert at making tea. I would say he makes the tea better than me, so I don't need really to control anything. I'm sure his tea will taste great, you know. Then we have the Naka Tea. So that Naka Tea, you know, Naka is very expensive. It's more expensive than Jingmai, as expensive as Lao Man E. So we went for the second flush, the one that they made in late April. It's second flush, so it's cheaper. It will be for the same price, about the same price as the Jingmai Gushu. And it's still okay. I would say it's better price for value than early spring Naka. You lose a little bit in terms of overall strength, but you get a much cheaper price. Well, like 40% cheaper. So I think it was worth, in this case, getting the second quality. But I still got a bag of the best quality, and maybe I will add 3 samples in the parcels, who knows. Then, so we'll get the Nannuo, the Naka, the Lafu tea, of course the Ailao, the Aonama. I made the interview last year. Yeah, it was last year with the producer, and it was, well, he says he's improved the quality again this year. Yeah, the tea tastes a little bit different, so he's doing quite the same strategy as ours in Jingmai. Every year he's researching which areas taste best, and he selects those areas, so we can expect to have better quality. But of course, with quality he increases the price, so that will be a tea that will increase in price, but for good reasons. What other tea do I have in mind? I don't have any other tea in mind now, but we'll probably source a bit more. Maybe I'd like to get more mohe, you know, that the tea that I released late. It's not far from Pu-erh. I'd like to pay another visit maybe, and well, maybe shoot another video. Last time I shot the video, the producer, the factory wasn't working, the producer wasn't there, so it was impossible to get much information. Maybe it'd be good to pay another visit and get some more tea, because it's very decent tea. I didn't do any Iwu this year. I will try as best as I can. I will try to get the tea from Laos, but currently the borders are closed. You know that in Laos, like, we rely on the going through small roads to ship the tea into China, but it's definitely not possible at this point because the police blocks the road. It's too dangerous. There's no... So the producers in Phongsali area in northern Laos are really stuck this year. They have produced their tea, but they have sold none of them, which shows them the need to diversify in terms of distribution, and it'd be good if they could sell directly to Europe or the US, because now they rely 100% on China, and now that the border is blocked, they can only store the tea and drink it. But as soon as the borders reopen, we'll make sure that we get some of that good quality Phongsali area. I'm not a big fan of Phongsali town, because I'd say you have 2 big terroirs in that northern. So you have Phongsali is like a region, and you have districts in the region. So you have Phongsali district, which is the main district of Phongsali region, and then you have Utai district, which is in the northwest of Pongsali region and directly bordering China. Now, Pongsali district is maybe a bit more famous, but I'm not a big fan of their teas, really. All the samples, yeah, they have good gushu and everything, but the samples I've tried were not really on par with what you could get in Wuda district. So that's why we do the tea in Wuda district. So for Yiwu, I think I would prefer honestly to get good tea from Laos, from the border, from Utai district. Yiwu from the big villages is very expensive, lots of fake, very hard to trade. Last year I could get some tea from the border. I actually don't know exactly where it was from. I'd prefer to have more traceability. I got this tea last year because it tasted good and it was a good opportunity. But honestly, yeah, I'd prefer to get tea directly from Laos, you know. So we'll do this. Maybe I will travel to Yiwu later in the year. I will see. And then maybe Mongku tea. Well, we'll see. I think we will first release that first waves of teas, and then if we have good sales, we will maybe take another trip. So this year is a bit different due to the coronavirus crisis because there were much less visitors in the tea mountains, which means that a lot of tea producers still have good tea at home, even in May. So that's an opportunity. We can go actually to the mountain and buy directly good tea, like we did in Naka. Honestly, that was really unexpected. You know, they have lots of fake tea in Naka and stuff, but we went on a first trip and got really good tea. And I think we couldn't have done this in normal conditions. So the coronavirus crisis is affecting us, of course, but you know, we're still here, we still have our tea growing, we're still making good tea, and to me, what's the most important in 2020 is not the coronavirus crisis, but the fact that the season was really dry and we got really good quality. And we have this good quality at home, and so that's why I feel safe, you know, because we have all this great tea, and I'm sure we'll be able to sell it as soon as the logistics service is restored. So now I'm gonna go. I think today the weather is good, so I think I'm gonna head to the tea mountains just to have a look at what's being done these days. I'm looking for white tea and black tea and some stuff, and just paying visits to farmers around, traveling with friends. And I will keep you updated. As soon as the situation gets better, we will release all the teas, and I'm sure you'll have a blast from all those great teas from 2020. So thank you for watching and see you later. Bye bye.